And on Jimmy Mentis timeline on Facebook.
Are we?
I think so, yeah. And it's all high definition, and it looks amazing. I don't know who's working this, but whoever's working this is really good at it. What's happening, Jimmy? Listen, did we get that Cinnabon? I mean, come on, man. It's one of those things that
It's right here.
that I said it should be illegal, man. What?
It's right here.
You got people asking you about this.
It takes a while for us to make it, and we usually sell out right away.
Why is that?
I don't make enough. I don't make enough. My forecasting is way off because sometimes I forecast a certain percentage of increase in sales, and sometimes there are just more than I expect. And I have a steady flow of beauty weight coming in, and I don't want to change that because the formula and the recipe is perfect. X amount of
over the past 2 weeks, I've heard people say that they like the lemon flavored protein. What is what makes you come up? It's lemon flavored protein?
Lemon. I love those. Remember those lemon cookies?
Right.
As a kid, I used to love those things, and then I kept seeing, the standard, the vanilla, the chocolate, that kind of stuff. The standard flavors. So I just wanted to do something. I'll be honest with you. I just wanted to do something so people can turn around and say, lemon. It created awareness for Beauty Fit.
Right.
So when I said I'm going to come out with a lemon protein, I said I better come out with something really, really good because, it's different, and if it's not good, it wouldn't work well with the brand Beauty Fit. So I made sure that this lemon was spot on, and the lemon protein basically put the Beauty Way product on the map.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it took forever for people to try it. They didn't trust it.
It's not.
You didn't even trust it.
I haven't even tried it yet. I've heard people talking about it. It's like, oh, you're talking this way because you haven't tried it. And I'm like, absolutely. What? Like 25 years in this industry, I've never had a freaking lemon flavored protein. But I think we have a guest in the show. We have a guest in the show.
Yes.
I don't even know if we should talk about anything first before we bring him in to the show.
Before we lose him, he gets too busy?
Right. No, I mean, he might be too busy. He might be in his trophy room or whatnot. We're trying to get him on the line real quick because he's one of our guys.
To introduce him.
I don't want to say anything yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on him to get online because this is all live. It is real production here. Jimmy, before saying, without saying any name, who is this person? I mean, give us a hint because I'm trying to get him online.
Florida Central District Chairman. He's an IFBB head judge. He's an NPC national judge, and he's a very, very good friend of mine that I love and respect, and we actually kind of do business together, if you want to call the sponsorship stuff that we do and the promotion stuff that we do. He's a very dear friend of mine, and we got him on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think this person's going to do great things here in the state of Florida, too, coming up. I'm trying to get him on the line. He seems to be having a little bit trouble with his internet connection, of course. But, I'm sure we're going to get him online in a minute or so. In the end, let's while we get him on the line, let's talk a little bit about. Well, if I get him on the line, we'll talk about it. Everybody wants to know this whole deal with Ronnie Coleman. The entire world is talking about it.
Generation or the Netflix
Generation Iron documentary. But before that, a couple of weeks ago, he kind of stated that he thinks that he's not gonna be able to walk again, which is sad. And, of course, this documentary comes out on Netflix now for the whole world to see. Do you think back to the Lee Haney quote, train, stimulate to annihilate, or, do you think this is Ronnie's fault? What are your first thoughts on this real quick?
Well, I'm going to fast forward, okay? The only person who can put himself in that position to either regret it or not regret is Ronnie Coleman, okay? I think Ronnie, and very few like Ronnie, will probably do it all over again. I don't think Ronnie has regretted it. He's got an amazing attitude. To me, he's a true champion, and not only when he was competing, even now. I mean, I saw him at the Arnold. We sat, we talked. His mindset and he's still happy. To me, I don't know if I'd be able to handle that. It's like, look what I did to myself. I got a full hip replacement, and I think I'm halfway handicapped. When I either I train legs or whatever, and I feel a little ping, I'm like, look what I did to myself. Ronnie, he's been walking around either crutches or a walker for about 3 years now, 4 years, even more than that,
3
right?
years, and he still travels the world.
He still travels
the world,
and he still travels.
He still goes to Dubai, do all these expos.
So what Ronnie means to me was dedication, heart of a champion, gave it all he got. Now, there are no regrets. When you go into that, there shouldn't be any regrets, okay? And now everybody's talking about, well, maybe he shouldn't have trained like this or like that. That was back then, okay? Nobody knew anything different. It was like people in the 80s didn't know anything was going on in the 90s, and people in the 90s didn't know how to different like functional training, right? It's a different strategy, different ways of training. I didn't know anything. You put on all the weight, and you go.
Do you think that Ronnie is, because we know that most of his injuries have come back because he's so active. Do you think he's addicted to the gym? Do you think he has an addiction like a drug addict?
That's where I would, if Ronnie was sitting here in front of us, I'd love to bring him on the show. I might give him a call next week. That's where I think he kind of pushed it a little, okay? He's had all these surgeries, but he went back in training hardcore. He never gave his body time to rest or, rehab. Even when he was in rehab or even after rehab, you're not 100%. It's like, you don't have your original parts. So why would you train at that point, even after you retired, that hard? So I think he has that mental block of pulling back a little.
Right.
I don't think he was capable of saying, let me just train a little lighter.
I think so too. I think it's one of those things. I know old people have the same tendencies. I remember my grandmother, where you can't let her go. You couldn't take away her animals. That was her life food. And it's the same thing with Ronnie. If any of you guys have the chance to see the documentary, you'll see him at 4 a.m. getting ready to go to the gym. Right. There's people that have all the power, energy. They're young, teenagers, all the power in the world to do this, and they don't. And he's doing it by himself, driving by himself, getting to the gym by itself. All this type of things that people don't realize. And, coming back to the point, Ronnie still goes to these expos. And
he's got a business.
And it's there, sitting down for hours, and travels the plane for sitting down for hours. He's got a business. It's a very successful one. And, we wish him the best. Do you feel sorry for Ronnie right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Do you think he will?
I think he is where I'm not saying this is where he wants to be, but I think he's embracing where he's at right now. Is he praying every day and every night to make this thing better? Yes. But, Ronnie is a man of God, and he has left it up to him to walk him through life, the rest of his life. But here's my question: at what point does Ronnie say, "Enough of these haters"? Okay, everybody's hating. Not necessarily everybody. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, they're blaming his training style.
No, they're hating. No, they're not blaming. They're hating. Some of these people, I see who they are. They wish they were Ronnie Coleman. They wish that nobody wishes that they were him now, okay? But if you gave them the opportunity to live and be a successful bodybuilder, I think he's one of the best of all times.
Some people consider him the best
had his
ever.
Mass. Nobody.
Right. So it's one of those things that
I think people should just back off.
I think so too. I think people, what, I don't know. 2003 Ronnie Coleman, to me, it's one of the most craziest versions I think ever to step on an Olympia stage, and Jay Cutler was behind him many times, and he says, did he probably train harder? Absolutely. Did he probably train smarter? Then that's the question.
But back then, what is smarter? You're talking about the 90s.
Well, you were part of that era, so
right. And I'm nowhere near Ronnie's status, right?
Right.
And I had a problem slowing down after I retired.
Right.
So, could you imagine him?
So yeah, I mean, I think in the end, in the long run, we're gonna find out. I mean, like you said, Ronnie's a man of God, and man, he's battled. It's the 10th surgery. Okay, so we're talking about, one of those things that can be like a miracle, basically, because we all want him to see him, with his family and all that. He deserves that. He deserves to be the best in the world. And there you go. I think I have Joe on the line now. Finally.
Right, so,
oh my God, wait. Jesus Christ, stay right there, for the love of God. Let me give you your proper intro, and please do not move. All right, Jimmy, go with the intro.
All right. We have the Florida Central District Chairman, an IFBB head judge, NPC national judge, and a very good friend. I love you dearly, Joe Pishkula, and he is the promoter of the border clash in Aiken, South Carolina, and so on and so on and so on. Hello, my friend.
How you doing, Jimmy? Love you, brother.
I'm good.
All right, I want to jump in for a second on the whole Ronnie Coleman thing.
There you go.
Because I was listening to you guys, and the phone kept, this Skype thing keeps dropping. All right, so obviously you watched the special the other night. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what it is, but something about training in the 90s was pure stupidity. And we all did it. But I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing, man. I got ruptured discs, I got this, I got that. I don't care, man. I wouldn't change that for a lifetime, man. So it's part of
Joe, what is that?
It's a different mindset.
Right. That's my point.
Yep.
That's my point. We loved what we did.
Jimmy, you know better than anyone else, man. It was always pushing a boundary. That was what we were trying to do. And I came up at that time where Casey Beater was like the idol, and you know how Casey trained.
Right.
It was just insanely nuts. And I look back at that now and I go, I probably could have competed a hell of a lot longer if I wasn't thinking I had to do wrist curls with 315 pounds.
Right.
But that's what we did. And I wouldn't change it for the world, man. I loved it. It was fun. It was a blast. I look back on those days with such good memories. And I watched that special with Ronnie, and I look at it and I go, I don't think Ronnie would take any of it back.
Right. I agree.
I don't think he'd even bat an eye.
I agree, man. I agree.
And I was there, I was there at the 97 Olympia when he took, 9th or whatever it was. I have video of me standing outside the Queen Mary at the after party where he is telling me, I don't think I want to compete anymore. I don't think I'm not good enough. I have home video of this. And what's funny about that is fast forward now to the 98 Night of the Champions. He walks out on stage and I went, my mouth dropped.
Yeah. Not only yours, everybody's.
Yeah. And Kevin, everybody, all of us were like, what did Ronnie do between that and that? But I'm going to tell you, whatever he did, he became Ronnie Coleman that day, and then of course we know what happened. But I always look back on it and I go, Ronnie kind of pushed the envelope even farther, for good or bad, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But a lot of good memories, man. Really good memories. So I look back on it, I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Right. Hey, let me ask you a question. Are you at the Weeder offices? Well, show us around. What do you got back there?
This is in my corner of craziness. I don't get much space in my house. This is the only spot I get.
Okay.
So I got this little corner where I sit and I think a lot. And there's just it's really not a lot of stuff. It's some stuff that I've gotten over the past few years, actually, because I never kept anything from competing. I mean, I just didn't. I didn't.
Whose helmet is that back there?
That one is actually just a practice helmet from the Steelers training camp that someone gave to me. Some of the crazy stuff I got back here, but I mean, here I'll take you up here. I don't know if you remember Steve, but God rest his soul. But I'll try and pull him up here as fast as I can. Steve was one of the best in the world back in the '80s.
Yeah.
From the light weight.
Yeah.
5 foot tall, 155 pounds. But I mean, I have all kinds of little trinkets and stuff that I keep floating around here. But as we kind of continue through the years here, every time I judge a show or whatever and someone gives me a medal, I hang it on my wall.
Right.
I just think it's a nice memento of the shows and everything. And I've had a lot of fun these past few years. It's been about 8 years I got back into judging again. I did in the early 90s, and I got out of it. Life happens.
Right.
You go on to other things, you do other things, and long story short, if it wasn't for Trey Bennett, I wouldn't be back in this again. So I blame Trey for this mess and nightmare that I'm in.
Trey's good people, man. Let me the last show that Johnny and I did, we kind of brought up the NPC shows, and then you and I talked, and
Sure.
I said some things that you're like, hey man, I want to clarify, I want to bring people up to date, and stuff like that, and where was I wrong, or where was I out of date with a few things? Can you bring us up to speed with this, up to date with everything?
You're not wrong at all. The difference in what we're doing now is we're trying to really modernize the sport. We're trying to bring it up to standard. I mean, Jimmy, we all know that 60-70% of our competitors at shows are females anymore. I mean, we get a lot of bikini girls, we get a lot of figure, we get, the sport has changed a lot. And, something that kind of reflects back to Ronnie, how many people are willing to do what Ronnie did to get to that level? But I'm very happy because I'm going to tell you this. We've seen more and more bodybuilders coming back to the sport. So we're actually getting less men's physique now and getting more bodybuilders.
Why is that?
But I think what you had, and this is not a knock on anybody, and I hate to say this, but there are a lot of people that just took the sport for granted, and they weren't looking at how it's growing, how it's changing. They're keeping it in place, and what our goal is, what we're looking at is to modernize things, make it better, make the athletes happier, make their experience better, but also let everyone understand there's something for everybody in this sport. So I really have enjoyed what I've done over the past few years, and I see the state of Florida kind of turning a page.
Right.
Jimmy, you've been around here long enough. You know that for the longest time you saw the numbers drop. And that it should never happen. What
numbers are you talking about?
I'm just talking about the numbers in the state of Florida.
Right.
Because what happened was you saw shows starting to shrink. Number one, there's a lot of shows, so we are trimming them back a little bit, trying to trim the schedule across the state to tighten it down and make sure that the shows that stay are the good ones, and the ones that kind of have struggled and haven't really held their own are going to have to go by the wayside. And that's just business, period. That has nothing to do with anything personal or not liking somebody, or it's a matter of fact. It's, you know, some people. Well, you're very familiar now with the promoting business. You've been around me now, helping me out, being basically
I love it.
guy. Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
You know what I do. So you've said to me the one day, you go, do you ever stop?
Yeah.
You know, just like you know, I'm always promoting, man. I'm always out there doing my thing, and I tell people all the time. I go, you'll never. People will tell me all the time, I'm sick of hearing you talk about it. I'm still going to talk about it. It's like having a good product. It's like having Beauty Fit. You know, liquid sun rays. You have a good product, you talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I love the NPC. I love the IFBB. I know we're the leaders. You know, everybody always goes, oh, but this federation, that federation. You know, my response is, I don't care what they do.
Right.
And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, because let's face it, how many imitators are there out there now of Beauty Bum? There's plenty. That doesn't matter. You're the leader.
Right.
You have a product that really works. It's not a knockoff. It's not an imitation.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the NPC. You know, and now the IFBB Pro League and what we're doing, you know, NPC worldwide is what it'll eventually become. We are the leaders in what we do. And I have no doubt about that. I know what our plans are. And, you know, Jimmy, you've never said anything that upsets me. I just sit there and go, bring me on the show so I can talk about it.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to do. But Joe, listen, in all fairness, you are an amazing. And I'm not saying because we're friends and stuff like that. You know, I'm sure we've been at each other and we've talked real, but and I still love you, but you are an amazing businessman. You are an amazing promoter. You don't stop. Okay, what motivates you? What motivates you that maybe that can bleed into other promoters? Like, is it a protocol you follow? Is it your enthusiasm that makes you go 24/7? How can other promoters be as successful as you are? What's missing?
Well, I look at it this
way. Did I put you on the spot?
No, not at all. I look at it from the point of view of, like I said, I always follow what I want to do. I don't, just like any other, we were talking just a few seconds ago about any other federation versus the NPC or whatever. To me, we do what we feel is right. I do what I think I would want to see if I was an athlete. And that's the way I always view this, because I can remember getting off stage, 1988. I get off the stage, and it was so lonely. I took like 4th place, and you didn't get a trophy. Nobody wanted to talk to you. You couldn't ask judges for feedback. It was depressing, actually, because it was like you just got your ass handed to you, and you didn't win, and once again, you talk about 16 years old, you're kind of in a emotional world anyway, from a standpoint of fragileness. And I sit there and go, what was missing from those shows? What could I do differently that would not only keep athletes coming back, because that's what you really want. I mean, I'm dead honest with you. As a promoter, you want people to come back, but you want them to have a great experience. And that's with anything in life. Experience is everything. So all the, let me put it this way, Jim.
Go ahead.
They're not going to remember the $30 trophy they got. They're going to remember what happened at that show and how they felt.
Right.
Whether they won or lost.
Right. Like, I was just going to say that. Like, they're not going to remember the T-shirt they got. They're not going to remember the goodie bag that's been loaded with samples and they don't know what to take first, even if they want them, right?
Yeah. Beauty Fit products.
Well, we fixed that, right? We fixed that problem.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
But the thing is, it's, it's the experience. When I come up to the Aiken, South Carolina, again, Aiken, South Carolina, okay, which is the
Nobody knows where it is. I say it all the time.
Listen, Tammy and I were driving 105 miles country road, and we thought we were lost, okay?
I know, you feel like you're going to fall off the edge.
Right. And next thing you know, there were over 300 bodies or 350 bodies. And you had 42, 43 pro bikini, quality pro bikini. Okay.
I think we had four top 10 Olympians.
Yes.
I think we had like 7 or 8 girls
Right.
total.
And
top 15.
And the fun part about it was, and I saw it. I witnessed it 2 years in a row now. Right. The competitors were hanging around. They weren't just getting on stage, putting on their jumpsuits, flip-flops, and gone. They were hanging around. Like the experience, it was fun. It's probably one of the only shows. It is the only show I get involved with, but it's one of it's fun. The whole atmosphere around that show, in front, in the audience, backstage, hotel.
You're gonna make me blush.
Well, you should blush, or you shouldn't blush, because you know this. This is what makes you tick, and this is what makes all the athletes want to come back. And the ones who don't go actually have, every year they're telling me, "Hey, are you going to be part of the Border Clash next year?" And I said, "Yeah, like I'm going to compete there." There are people right now are getting ready for the Border Clash that had no intention of getting ready for the Border Clash.
That is true. And I've already had, Jimmy, I got 10 people registered already.
Wow.
10. I mean, we're 7 months away. I mean, people, and that's not including the ones who've registered, but they didn't pay, because that's a whole nother issue. But I sit there and go, I know that people get excited early. I'm always happy to do these things. But like I said, I think that part of what we're doing, you and I, part of what we're creating in this is just an experience. It's an experience that they're never going to forget. And you know what the best thing in the world is? It's when they come to me and they go, I did show A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and none of them compared to what yours was. And I've had pros tell me that at high-level shows, that they're like, oh, my God, you were just over the top. Right. It was, they had their own private dressing room. We had bottles of champagne back there for them. But it's the little things that, we treat them the way they should be. Jimmy, you traveled the world as an IFBB pro. Think of some of the really bad situations you were like.
Oh yeah, forget it. But there were some good ones. There were some good ones that if they called me today to go show up, not to guest pose, but to show up to be part of that event, I would go, because I knew the promoter. I knew that they would do it right.
Well, that's exactly leads back to what we were talking about. So the experience that you had stuck with you how many years later?
No,
we're talking
years.
20, 30 years.
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades.
Decades.
Now here's my question, right? Why can't,
Sure.
What's holding other promoters back from doing what you do? Is it a financial thing? Is it what is that? Because I'm seeing all the shows. It's basically cookie cutter. Everybody's doing the same thing. Okay?
Exactly. And what I think that starts with, Jimmy, I think part of it is financial. But what I think it is that I've told you this before, and I'll say it a million times. I tell all the people in our district this, and all over the state. I go, guys, I will always bet on myself before I'll do anything else. So if it's worrying about spending money and thinking, I always tell people, guys, put the best product out there, and that product will sell itself. I said, so if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, what you're trying to do is create the best experience, the best environment for these athletes. And if you spend money and you lose money, it happens. It's a risk. But if you don't do it, if you're trying to sit there and pinch a penny, what you're going to end up with is the small show that has not a very good venue. It has no quality to it. It's a very simple concept. And once again, I always say, if you want to be a leader in the industry, we have how many organizations now trying to compete with the NPC? There's a dozen of them.
Oh, tons.
But the only thing we can do is up our game. And that's what I keep trying to preach to people. So It's a big point this year for me when I talk to all the promoters is you have to up your game from stage production to venues to how you treat the athletes to what you do. Make that event something special.
Is there?
And go ahead.
No, okay, you can finish. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, to me, you're right. It's I don't know if it's necessarily financial. I think a lot of times people look at a dollar and they're more concerned about that than they are the event. But I always tell people, think of it the other way. The event comes, you do the right thing.
Yeah.
As a businessman, the money comes on the other side. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
That's no different than any other business. You do the right thing, treat the people, treat your clients good, your customers good, and it comes back to you.
I personally feel if the promoters paid a little more attention into the event than just signing athletes up, I think it would be a better show, a better experience, because the athletes are getting excited. There are a lot of people who had no intentions of competing, and they lose some weight, and now they want to showcase. I don't have anything wrong with that. Okay, I don't have a problem with it, but they want to showcase. Yeah, they want to showcase their physique, or they want to showcase the results and stuff like that, and they end up going to a show and having a horrible experience. And what do? They don't have the great experience. They tell their friends about their experience, and it bleeds out in a negative way. You know, when can we do away? When can we? Am I losing you?
Yeah, I lost you there.
Okay. When can we do away with the shows that are basically set up in backyards?
That's coming. It's a slow process, but we've been really working on it. And we've been, obviously you don't want to rip and blow everything up like a nuclear bomb. The scorched earth policy, that it doesn't work. So it's kind of a slow process to go through and really try to work with people to bring them up first before you say, we gotta throw you out. So this year the schedule, over the course of the state, I think last year we had 54 scheduled, and this year coming up will be right around the 40 mark across the state. So we're trimming it back, and that number, in my humble opinion, will eventually either trim down or, once again, Jimmy, we always expect that people are going to, Jim says this all the time. I expect, as you're a promoter, you got to hustle. And a lot of these guys, I don't know if it's just they don't know how, but I'm trying to instill it. And I'm saying, guys, this is part of what you have to do is to hustle. You brought up a good point, and I just want to touch on this real quick. A lot of promoters count only on body counts. And they go, how many athletes do I have in my show? But I don't know if you remember, how many times would you just get in a car and drive to a show? You weren't competing, but you wanted to go look at the competition. You wanted to get an idea of what it was like to compete. So it wasn't even necessarily that you were going to do the show. So it's a very important factor to bring new people in by having them exposed to the product, exposed to the shows where they go, oh, I would like to do that. I'd like to try. I think I could do that. Like you said, you lost weight, you did this. It's not just how many bodies we put on stage. It's also how many people we attract to the sport in general, because the sport is always built upon new people. We always have to bring new people in.
Right.
People leave the sport all the time, and only so many go on. There are only so many that are good enough to go on to the next level, and that's just the way it is. It's one of those things where I always scratch my head and I go, okay, guys, back in the day, everybody always goes, oh, it was so much harder to get a pro card. It was harder, but I used to tell people, okay, you have 4 classes in men's bodybuilding. There were 20 competitors in each class at the Nationals. You had 80 guys, and you got 4 pro cards. Pretty small odds. But now I go, guys, on the other side of that, we have 1,400 people competing at a show, and you give away, 60, 80 pro cards. I go, guys, you got to remember that you have a lot of that in just bikini. So, I mean, bikini, figure, fitness. So we have so many different categories anymore. I go, yes, it's increased, but it's really not as drastic as people want it to seem. And everybody loves to throw that out and go, oh, there's so many programs. And I get it. I said, but also, guys, remember
I'm one of
one
them.
thing.
I'm one of those guys.
Has evolved. I know, but the sport has evolved. It's not just bodybuilding anymore. So we look at this and we go, it's more of a, how do you get more people to compete? How do you get more people to want to compete? Because not everybody, like, you know, how many people wanted to walk around and be like Ronnie Coleman? Yeah, you and I did, because we were knuckleheads. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people were happy with the beach body. A lot of people are happy looking good in a bikini. Jimmy, it's no different than when we talk about, you and I talk about this all the time. You go in the gym, you're training. Years ago, you used to say, hey, let me work in with you. That was a given, man. Let me feed off your energy.
Yeah.
You're going to push me. I'm going to see what you're doing. Nowadays, you say, can I work in with you? And people go, I got 4 more sets.
Yeah.
And they get back on the phone and they don't pay attention. So, once again, the world changes. You know, we try to change with it. And, you know, I understand. I mean, I get it. I hear it all the time. I hear both sides. I agree with both sides. It's not like I disagree with either or. I just look at it and go, hell, the world's changed. Hell, years ago, we used to wait 6 months to see an article in a magazine. Now we're fighting for instantaneous.
Right.
We want everything away.
I like to see the events. I like to see events a little more popular. You mentioned that I used to get in the car and go see an event to see my competition, but I also used to go to events just to see my friends because I hadn't seen them in a month or so. Now every weekend I get a call and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna come to the show? You're gonna come to the show?" I'm like, dude, I just went to a show. I saw everybody. The same people are gonna be at the next show. So don't you think that ruins also the ticket sales?
I think it does in a way, Jimmy, but I also look at it and I go, I'm a big believer in how geographics are split up, and I've been talking about this all year with my counterparts. This is where we really do stupid things sometimes. You have a show that's 2 hours away from another one in Southern Florida on the same date, on the same weekend. That's the one that always blows my mind. And that's what I've been trying to change. Because I go, well, why are we fighting? We're fighting ourselves.
Right.
We're hurting ourselves. Now, you know, some weekends we go, okay, we got 3 shows in a month. It's too much. It's one of those things we're still, you know, we debate it all the time, and we're trying to really come up with a good plan to, you know, but once again, why do people promote shows? What is their reason? You know, and I've had this conversation with 1,000 people, and I always come up back to the same point. I go, you know, you guys, you have to put out a good product. You have to bring the competitors, because what's the point of competing if there's not really a competition? I go, but, you know, it's just kind of interesting to me when I look around. I go, what is your motivation to promote a show? Why do you do it?
Why do you think?
You know, and I've heard.
Do you think it's money or think it's ego?
I think it's ego.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do. I think a lot of times guys will lose money, but there's that bragging right that they have a show, and that does no good for anybody. So, you know, once again, you know me, Jimmy. I'll always tell you what I think, and I scratch my head sometimes, and I've asked people straight up. I say, why keep doing it? And I've also asked people. I said, listen, you've been doing this now for 5-6 years, and you've had 30 people at your show every year. Are you sure you want to do this anymore?
Right.
And, you know, the funny part is most of them, as you have these conversations, you can see the light bulbs going on. And like I said, we're going to be trimmed up a little bit this year. I would like it to be a little more, but once again, we have to take our time and do things kind of patiently. And it's going to get better. You know, as I always tell everyone, I said next year, I don't know what the results are going to be. As we kind of have gone from the 5 qualified athletes in an open class back down to 2. I've also talked to people about why are we doing the sliding scale thing, you know, at Masters Nationals, you know, those type of issues. But we talk about these things. And, you know Jim, you've known him for 100 years. You know, he's a very smart man. He listens, but, you know, once again, it's got to make good business sense,
Right.
and it will.
Right.
I know, you know, I always go, I have faith in the organization. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be back here doing this. Because like I said, I walked away many years ago just based
And you
upon
got
life
sucked.
taking.
And you got sucked right back in.
I did. I got sucked. It's like the old I got pulled right back in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you
But no,
and
I
you didn't
love
fight it. You didn't
And
fight
I
it.
look at it. I always want to help people too. So you know me well enough that I'm always looking at it, going, how can I help someone else do better?
Right.
Whether it's from a learning about how to judge better, whether it's, you know, and I was lucky. I mean, I've had good teachers. I had Sandy, I've had Steve, I've had Gary, I've had Trey, I've had the best of the best to teach me. So I want to pass that knowledge on too. And same with promoting. But promoting for me, it was just, to me, it came naturally. It really did. It's like I was a project manager and an estimator for 800 million years, what it seems like. But this type of stuff to me is like putting an event together is no different than doing a job on a construction site. Building a product.
I have to say that I've learned a lot from you. I love learning from you. I think you're an amazing promoter. I think you have your heart in an amazing place. I see your pain when something doesn't go right. I actually try to talk you off.
You've seen that a lot.
I try to talk you off the cliff. I think, you know, what do you, before we close, what would you like to say to the athletes of the NPC and the IFBB?
I always say this. No, Jimmy, you know, the first thing I always tell them is every athlete I come in contact with, I always ask them, where have you competed? And when they tell me, well, this is my first contest, or I've competed here, or I always recommend that they go and explore. You know, in the world we live in today, it's easy to travel. It's not like it was years ago where you only competed in one city and nowadays people, you know, hell, we didn't think about staying in hotels or anything. You had a show that was close to your home. You stayed in your home and you went to the show, you went home at night. You know, there was no, I'm going to travel a state away. But I mean, I watch these girls now. They go everywhere to train, to travel, to compete. But I always ask them the same question. What was your experience like? And I've had them tell me, I didn't like competing here, but I like competing at this show. I didn't like this one. I like that one. Well, what you're going to find is they're going to go to the shows they like. And the ones that gain traction, people are going to come. So I always want to talk to athletes and say, what did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? And learn from that, because that's what's going to make my show better. And, you know, the old saying, you got to listen. That's 100% true, man. And I'm loving it because I just sit there and listen to what they want and try to incorporate it. You know, make their experience better, make it easier. And even when you think about Aiken, I tell people all the time, I go, it's not the easiest place to get to.
Aiken, South Carolina.
They still come. Yeah, Aiken, South Carolina. I can still see you standing up on that platform and holding the camera up to Dan Solomon going, Aiken, South Carolina. And there was like 1,500 people in the building, and the stage was, we had 300-some competitors. That was before the pro show.
Right.
And I just remember, and Dan kept saying, don't rub it in. Don't rub it in. But no, I mean, I always go, you know, I'm happy that I can do it. I love doing it. And as long as, you know, I'm having a good time, I will. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to find, oh, here we go. New Clash medals just came in.
Nice.
Look at that.
Nice. Very nice. You saved me mine?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course. But, you know, I'm happy, Jimmy. I mean, you know, this is a dream come true for me. I mean, I'm just a fat kid from Cleveland. What the hell do I know? You know, I just I enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing, man. And you know, it's so much fun to watch people grow. And the one day, and if I leave anything with anyone, I always tell them, guys, when you're done with bodybuilding, what you learned in this sport, if you carry it over the rest of your life, you will be successful.
Yes, sir.
You're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Because your work ethic, Jimmy. I don't know anyone who works harder than you. I really don't. I mean, there's times where I'm sitting there going, shit, Jimmy's still working at 2 a.m, and then the next thing you know, we're texting at 5:30. So I tell people all the time, I go, that guy is always working, and if he's not working, he's waking up in the middle of the night writing stuff down. So that's probably why you and I have bonded, because I'm the same way. I think this stuff all the time, and I tell people, to be a good promoter, you are always talking about your show. You are always spreading the word. You're always thinking of how you're marketing it, how you're going to make it better, and that's part of what I enjoy doing. And like I said, I couldn't be happier with the growth of the organization. And I think the whole worldwide thing is just a blast. I've met people from around the world that I never thought I'd meet.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of traveling now, huh?
Yes, and places I've gone have been, I never thought I'd be hanging out in London or going to, Colombia, South America, to, it's just been a blast, man. And
That's
it's
awesome,
like,
man.
I never dreamed it in my wildest dreams. So I enjoy it. I'm glad it's happening. But like I said, I'm looking forward to the Border Clash. We're going March 23rd.
Yes, sir.
2019. You'll be there. I know Cappy will be there. Johnny will be there.
Yep.
He's doing a whole bunch. You guys are going to be doing some crazy play-by-play commentary. I think you saw my post today. It was about social. It was about media and everything. And Dan Ray shooting show and Maximum Muscle Report being there, and then you guys kind of adding another. You're adding another layer.
Yeah, we're gonna add a little angle to this year's Border Clash. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're putting layer upon layer, which we didn't have before. Which we figured, you know what? I've always said this. I go, every athlete gets their photo package for free, their full stage photo package, and we always talk about this, and we go, what do athletes really want? Well, what I find is they really want to share their photos. Right. It could be the best shape of their life. They might never be in that shape again, or they could use it as a tool to they get better and they become a pro and they move on. So to me, I always go, let's give them what's really important, because like I said, I love to give them awards. I love giving them trophies and goodie bags and gifts and all that, watches and silver NPC charms, Beauty Fit charms. I love all that stuff. But I always say that type of stuff, and add now on top of that the layer of the memories, the photos, the videos, all the things that come along with it.
I think the photos and the memories are, listen, I go back and I look at photos. One of the guys that I knew yesterday, he posted my cover, one of my Muscle and Fitness covers, and he goes, look what I found. Because he's a magazine collector, and I'm like, wow, it's the photos, it's the experience are always great, obviously, but it's the photos, it's the videos that you always go back and you look and you reminisce and and all that good stuff,
Absolutely,
Jojo.
That's really what it.
I'm gonna cut you off.
Okay, I have one last thing to say, and I told you this was my little sneak preview. And I'm just going to make it very short.
Go ahead.
So the Clash will be expanding in 2019.
Tell them.
And we're going to leave it at that.
That's all.
We're not going to say any more. That's all we need to say right now.
Hey, quick question.
And I don't just mean that's not just in South Carolina now. I'm talking
I know.
Elsewhere.
Tell them.
We'll leave it at that.
Don't tell them too much.
No, but I wanted to break that news here because this is the place that it needs to be told first.
Right.
And obviously, as always, Liquid Sun Rays and Beauty Fit will be involved in everything.
I was just going to ask you, who's the exclusive tanning company for the Border Clash?
Liquid Sun Rays, always. Best color in the industry. Hands down.
Thank you, my brother. Jojo, thank you so much.
That's the truth. That's the truth, my friend. All right, you guys.
I love you.
Talk to you again,
Thank you, and
I'll
I'll get that stuff ordered.
You got it. Okay. I'll talk to you this week.
All right, brother. Be good.
Love you, brother.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks.
See ya.
That was good, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. Really, really good with Joe.
I love talking to Joe.
It's one of those things,
when
man.
he says that we text each other at 5:30 in the morning, he's not lying.
Oh, I'm sure he's not. I'm
Yeah,
sure
see,
he's not.
He gets up really early. Obviously, I don't get up that early. But when he does text me, he texts me because it's probably on his schedule.
Right.
Okay, let me text Jimmy. Let me just throw it out there so at least when he gets up, he'll respond. Sometimes I text him right back and he goes, "You up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up. I'm working."
Yeah, it's one of those things that, when you work in this industry, you know that, there's no off season. You're on it all the time, and it works. It works to an extent because, you guys are pretty much out there, and I think that was a great interview. It's one of those things that you don't expect because, again, we brought Joe in to talk a little bit about, some surprises that's going to happen in the border clash and all that. And
I brought him on because last time we did the show, we talked for the show, the border clash, and then he brought that up, and I said, hey, I kind of thought he was a little mad at me, but he wasn't. He just said, hey, I'd like to. We're making progress in the state of Florida, and I said, hey, why don't you come on the show, and let everybody know what you're doing.
Right.
So
and, he's very open to change and change for good, which I believe it'll only help the hobby we call sport in this industry. So anything else you want to add? We have tons of stuff that we left out, but
next show
we're gonna cover more stuff, more LSR shows. We're gonna
Club Beauty Fit,
which
Nationals
is breaking out like crazy. We're gonna talk some nationals and upcoming competitors, and maybe we get you another interview with another top star.
I'll bring somebody.
Jimmy will call somebody. Yeah. All right, so you guys know what to do. You write us down here below. Any questions?
Comment, share,
and whatever.
We want to do this weekly.
Yes.
Thank you everybody for logging in. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you too. For the DAWG, this has been Styles, and we are out for this weekend.